The air grows cool as the sun finally disappears, and you are here. You stand at the edge of something vast, something that has no real edge at all. The Sahara stretches before you in every direction. It is sand and stone and silence. It is older than cities, older than most of the words you know, and tonight you will walk into it. Not far. Just far enough to understand why the old caravan routes still whisper, just far enough to feel what travellers felt centuries ago when they moved through this place in long lines of camels and hope. The sand beneath your feet is still warm. The sun held it all day. Now it releases that heat slowly, like breath. You can feel it through your shoes. It is a gentle warmth, comforting almost, the kind of warmth that makes you think of blankets, of safety, but the air around you is cooling fast. The desert does this. It holds heat and cold in the same moment. It is a place of opposites, a place where things do not quite make sense. You look behind you. There is nothing there, just sand, just the last light of day turning everything amber and gold. You look ahead, more sand, more gold. The dunes roll like frozen waves, like an ocean that forgot how to move, and you think for just a moment that you understand why people see things out here, why they always have. The desert is so empty that your mind tries to fill it. It wants to give you something to hold on to, something familiar, but there is nothing familiar here. You start walking. Your feet sink slightly with each step. The sand shifts. It has no memory of you. It will forget you the moment you leave. This is not a place that keeps records, not in the way you know. But the stories say it remembers in other ways, in whispers, in shadows that should not be there, in the feeling that you're not alone even when you very clearly are. The first caravan route you follow is not really visible, not anymore, but you know it is here. People have told you, maps have shown you. For hundreds of years, traders moved through this exact stretch of desert. They carried salt and gold and spices. They carried water in leather bags that grew lighter each day. They carried stories too. Stories about what happens when you travel too long under the sun. Stories about the things that appear when the heat becomes too much. And stories about the things that appear when the heat is gone and the night takes over. You walk for a while. Time feels different here. You might have been walking for 10 minutes. You might have been walking for an hour. The sun is almost gone now. Just a thin line of red on the horizon, like a cut in the sky. The stars are beginning to show. Not many yet. Just the brightest ones. The ones that come out first every night no matter where you are. You recognize some of them. They are old friends. They make you feel a little less alone. But then you stop. Because you see something. It is not close. It is far away. Maybe a mile, maybe more. Distance is hard to judge out here, but there is something on a dune in the distance. A shape. A dark shape against the dimming sky. You squint. You try to make sense of it. It looks like a person, or maybe a camel, or maybe something else. It is too far to tell, and it is not moving. You stand very still. You watch. The shape does not change, does not move. You tell yourself it is a rock. Just a rock that happens to look like something else from this angle. The desert is full of rocks, full of things that look like something they are not. But you cannot stop looking at it, because there is something about it. Something that feels wrong in a way you cannot name. Minutes pass, the shape stays where it is, and you realize that you're holding your breath. You let it out slowly. You laugh a little, just a quiet laugh. Because you are being silly. You're letting the stories get to you. This is exactly what happens out here. People see things. People imagine things. The desert is so big and so empty that your brain starts making up company. It is lonely out here, and loneliness does strange things to perception. You start walking again. You tell yourself you will not look back at the shape. But of course you do. You look back after a dozen steps. The shape is still there, still in the same place, still not moving, and you feel a little better. Because if it were something real, something alive, it would have moved by now, right? Things that are alive do not stand perfectly still for that long, so it must be a rock. It must be. The sun is gone now, the line of red has faded, the sky is that deep blue that comes just after sunset. The blue that is almost purple. The stars are coming out faster now, dozens of them, then hundreds. The desert sky is famous for its stars. There are no cities out here, no lights, nothing to drown out the universe. So the stars come down close. They press against the darkness. They fill every space. And they are beautiful. So beautiful that you stop walking just to look up. This is what the old caravans saw. This exact sky. These exact stars. They guided themselves by these lights. They knew the patterns. They knew which star meant north, which cluster meant they were on the right path, which bright point meant water was a day away. The stars were a map. The stars were hope. And sometimes, when the water ran out and the camels collapsed and the sand filled their lungs, the stars were the last thing they saw. You think about those travellers. You think about how brave they were, or how desperate, to cross this place with nothing but cloth and leather and faith, to trust that the route would hold, that the water would be where the story said it would be, that the next oasis was real and not just a dream made of heat. Most of them made it. Most of them survived, but some did not. And those are the ones the legends remember. You're walking again. You did not really decide to. Your feet just started moving. The sand is cooler now, much cooler. The warmth is gone. Soon it will be cold. The desert is like that. It goes from one extreme to the other with nothing in between. You're glad you brought a jacket. You're glad you prepared. But the travellers of old did not always have that luxury. They wore what they had. They carried what they could. And when the night came, they huddled together around small fires and told stories to keep the darkness back. The darkness out here is different from the darkness you know. At home, darkness is just the absence of light. It is what happens when you turn off the lamp, when you close the curtains. It is soft. It is expected. But out here, the darkness is a presence. It has weight. It presses in. And even with the stars so bright, there are pockets where the light does not reach, shadows between the dunes, spaces where anything could be hiding. But nothing is hiding. You know this. You remind yourself of this. The desert is empty. It is just sand and rock and wind. There are no monsters here, no ghosts, just stories, just legends that people tell to make sense of a place that is too big to understand. You see the shape again, the one from before, except now it is in a different place. It is closer, not much closer, but definitely not where it was. You stop walking. Your heart beats a little faster. You stare at the shape. It is still dark, still impossible to define, but it is not where it was before. You are sure of it. You marked its position against a dune, and now it is past that dune. Closer to you. You tell yourself you are wrong. You tell yourself that you did not really mark its position, that your memory is playing tricks, that the light is different now, and so everything looks different. This is reasonable. This makes sense. But your heart is still beating fast, and you are still staring. The shape does not move, not while you watch. It just stands there, patient, waiting. And you realize that you have two choices. You can keep walking toward it, or you can turn around and go back. But going back feels wrong, feels like giving up, feels like admitting that you are scared of something that is probably just a rock. So you keep walking. You keep your eyes on the shape. You watch for any movement, any sign that it is something real, something alive, but it stays still, and slowly, step by step, you get closer. Close enough to see that it is not a person, not a camel. It is too tall for that, too narrow. It looks almost like a post, like someone planted a long piece of wood in the sand and left it there. But why would anyone do that? Who would come all the way out here just to plant a post in the middle of nowhere? It does not make sense. Unless it is a marker, unless it is meant to show the way. The old caravans did that sometimes. They left markers, piles of stones, scratches on rocks, anything to help the next group find the path. Maybe this is one of those, a very old marker that somehow survived. You are close now, close enough to see details. The post is weathered, the wood is grey, it looks ancient. It looks like it has been here for 100 years. Maybe more. There are marks on it, scratches. They might be letters. They might be symbols. It is hard to tell in the starlight. You reach out to touch it. Your fingers brush the surface. The wood is smooth, worn down by wind and sand, and it is cold, much colder than it should be. You pull your hand back. You look around. There's nothing else here. Just the post, just you, just the endless sand. And you feel, for the first time tonight, truly alone. Not the comfortable alone of solitude, but the deep alone of being the only thing alive in a place that does not care if you exist. You turn away from the post, you keep walking, you follow the invisible path, the route that is not there but is, the route that thousands of people followed before you. And you wonder if they saw this post, if they touched it, if they felt the same cold, the same sense of something not quite right. The wind picks up. Just a little. Just enough to move the sand in soft waves. It hisses. That is the only word for the sound. A quiet hiss, like air escaping from a tire, like a whisper in a language you do not speak. The old travellers said the desert whispers. They said it calls your name. They said that if you hear your name on the wind, you should not answer, because the desert does not give back what it takes. You do not hear your name. You hear only the wind, only the hiss of sand moving, and you are grateful for that. You're grateful that the legends are just legends, that the stories are just stories, that the desert is just a desert, but then you hear something else, something that is not the wind. It is a sound like bells, like small bells ringing far away, the kind of bells that animals wear, the kind that caravans used to carry. They put bells on the lead camel so the others could follow in the dark, so they would not get lost, and the sound is coming from behind you. You stop. You turn around, and there, in the distance, you see lights. Small lights, moving lights. They sway back and forth, like lanterns hanging from something tall, like lanterns hanging from camels, and you hear the bells more clearly now. You hear the soft padding of feet on sand. You hear the low grumble of animals, of a caravan moving through the night. Your breath catches, because this is it. This is the legend. The ghost caravan. The one that appears on certain nights to travellers who walk alone, the one that moves along the old routes even though the routes are empty, even though no one uses them anymore, the one that passes by without stopping, without seeing you. Because it is not really here. It is just a memory, just an echo of the past playing out over and over in a place that has seen the same thing so many times it cannot forget. You stand very still. You watch the lights come closer. They are not rushing. They move at the steady pace of a real caravan, the pace that can be kept all day and all night, the pace that covers miles without exhaustion. And as they get closer, you start to see shapes, dark shapes moving between the lights, tall shapes, camels, and smaller shapes walking beside them, people, but they are not solid. They are not quite there. They flicker, like a candle flame, like something seen through heat waves, and they make no sound except the bells, no voices, no footsteps, just bells, just the soft jingle of metal in the dark. The caravan passes in front of you. Close enough that you should be able to see faces, but there are no faces, just shadows where faces should be, just darkness. The lanterns swing, the bells ring, and the shapes move forward, following the route, following the path they have followed 1,000 times before. You want to call out. You want to wave, you want to do something, but you remember the stories, you remember the warning. Do not try to join the ghost caravan, do not try to follow it, because if you do, you will walk forever. You will become part of it. You will lose yourself in the endless journey that has no beginning and no end. So you stand still, you watch, and after a few minutes, the caravan passes, the lights move away, the bells grow fainter, and soon there is nothing. Just darkness, just silence, just the wind. You let out a breath you did not know you were holding. Your hands are shaking, just a little. You tell yourself it was not real. You tell yourself it was a trick of the light, a mirage. Mirages do not only happen in daylight, they can happen at night too. Your tired brain can make you see anything out here, anything at all. But you know what you saw. You know it was not a trick, and you know, deep down, that you are standing in a place where the past is not quite let go, where the old journeys still repeat, where the desert holds on to what it has seen. You start walking again, faster now, not running, but not slow either. You want to put distance between yourself and the place where the caravan passed. You want to move forward, to keep going, because stopping feels dangerous now. Stopping feels like an invitation. The stars are fully out. The sky is brilliant. You have never seen so many stars in your life. They are so dense that the darkness between them seems like the unusual part. Like the universe is mostly light, and only a little bit shadow. and you use them to guide yourself. You pick a star ahead of you and walk toward it. You keep your eyes up. You try not to think about what you just saw, but the desert does not let you forget. Because now you see more things, small things, quick things, movements at the edge of your vision. When you turn to look, there is nothing there, but you feel them. You feel the presence of things that are not quite visible, not quite real, and you understand why the travelers told stories, why they needed to explain what they saw, why they created legends to make sense of this place. Because the desert is not empty, not really. It is full of memories, full of echoes, full of the traces left by everyone who ever walked here. And on certain nights, when the air is just right and the stars are just bright enough, those traces become visible. They push through, they show themselves. Not to harm, not to frighten, just to be, just to remind you that you are not the first, that you will not be the last, that the desert has seen it all before. You walk for hours, or maybe it's only minutes. Time is still strange out here, still slippery. You pass more markers, more posts. Some are standing, some have fallen, some are half buried in the sand, and you wonder about the people who placed them. You wonder if they survived their journey, if they made it to the other side, if they found water and rest and safety. Or if they are still out here, still walking, still searching. The cold is real now. It presses against you. Your jacket helps, but not enough. Your breath comes out in small clouds. You can see it in the starlight. Each exhale is a tiny ghost, a little piece of you escaping into the night, and you think about how easy it would be to disappear out here. How simple. You would just stop walking. You would sit down. You would rest for a moment, and the desert would cover you. The sand would drift. The wind would erase you, and in a week or a month or a year, you would be nothing but a story, nothing but another legend, but you keep walking. Because that is what travelers do. That is what the caravans did. They kept moving. They did not stop, because stopping meant ending, and ending meant becoming part of the desert forever. You see something ahead, something different. Not a post, not a shape, but a change in the sand, a dip, a low place. And as you get closer, you realize it is the remains of a camp. There are stones arranged in a circle, the remnants of a fire pit, and scattered around are pieces of things, old things, a broken water jug, scraps of leather, something that might have been a bag once. This was a place where a caravan stopped, where travelers rested, where they gathered around a fire and told stories and tried to forget the vastness around them. You step into the circle, you stand where they stood, and for a moment you are not alone. You feel them, the travelers, the traders, the guides. You feel their presence like a warmth, like the memory of a fire that burned out long ago but still leaves heat in the stones, and you understand something. You understand that the desert does not forget. It holds everything, every step, every word, every life. And sometimes when you are quiet enough, when you're still enough, you can feel all of it at once. You sit down, right there in the circle. You let yourself rest, just for a moment. The stones are cold, but they feel right. They feel like they belong here, like you belong here, and you look up at the stars and you think about all the people who looked up at these same stars from this same spot. How many were there? Dozens? Hundreds? And did they wonder what you wonder now? Did they feel what you feel? The wind moves around you. It does not push. It does not pull. It just moves, and it carries sounds, soft sounds, the sound of fabric flapping, the sound of rope creaking, the sound of voices murmuring in a language you do not know. And you do not turn to look. You do not try to see, because you know these sounds are not from now. They are from then. They are from all the thens that have happened in this place, and they are not here to scare you. They are here to keep you company. You close your eyes, just for a second, and when you open them, the sounds are gone. The wind is just wind. The night is just night, and you are alone again. But it does not feel lonely anymore. It feels full. It feels like the desert has shared something with you, some small secret, some glimpse into its long memory. You stand up, you brush the sand from your clothes, and you keep walking. Because the journey is not over, because you came out here to understand, and understanding takes time. It takes distance. It takes walking until your feet are tired and your mind is quiet and the legends stop being stories and start being something else, something truer. The dunes rise higher here. They tower over you, great mountains of sand that shift and change with every season. The travellers hated these dunes. They made the journey longer, harder. The camels struggled. The people struggled. But there was no other way. The route had to pass through here. Because on the other side was water, was life, was the hope of continuing. You climb one of the dunes. It is not easy. The sand slides under your feet. You take 2 steps up and slide 1 step back, but you keep going. You use your hands. You pull yourself up. And when you reach the top, you stop. You look around, and the view is breathtaking, dunes in every direction. Rolling and flowing like waves frozen in time, and the stars above, so close you feel like you could reach up and touch them. This is why people come to the desert, not for the danger, not for the fear, but for this, for the beauty, for the sense of being so small in a place so large that your problems do not matter anymore. Your worries do not matter. Nothing matters except this moment, this view, this silence. But the silence does not last, because you hear something, something new, a voice, a single voice. It is singing. The song is faint, far away, but clear, and it is beautiful. The kind of beautiful that makes your throat tight, the kind that makes you want to cry without knowing why. The melody is old. You can tell. It has the weight of centuries in it, and the words are in a language you do not speak but somehow understand. They are about home, about longing, about the journey that never ends. You look for the source. You turn in every direction, but you see nothing. No one. The voice is coming from everywhere and nowhere. It is part of the wind, part of the sand, part of the night itself, and you realize that this is another echo, another memory, a traveller singing to keep their spirits up, to remind themselves why they walk, to give the others something to hold on to in the dark. The song fades, slowly, like someone walking away, and then it is gone, and you are alone on top of the dune with the stars and the wind and the overwhelming silence. You sit down, right there on top of the dune, you let your legs dangle over the edge, and you think about the title, about why you would not survive a night out here, not because of ghosts, not because of danger, but because the desert is too much. It is too big, too old, too full of everything that ever was, and a single night is not enough time to hold all of that. It would fill you up, it would overflow, and you would be changed, forever changed, and maybe that is a kind of not surviving. Maybe that is the desert taking something from you, not your life, but your old way of seeing, your old way of being. You would leave the desert different. You would carry it with you, in your dreams, in your quiet moments, in the times when you look up at the sky and remember what it felt like to see the stars this close, and part of you would always be out here, walking the old routes, listening for the bells, waiting for the song. The night is deep now, the coldest part, the part where the desert sheds all its warmth and becomes sharp, becomes clear. You're shivering, you should move, you should walk to stay warm, but you cannot, not yet, because there is something else, something you need to see. And then you see it, on the horizon, a glow, a soft glow, like dawn, but dawn is hours away. The glow is low, just above the dunes, and it is golden, not white, not silver, golden, like fire, like the sun, and it is moving, spreading, growing. You stand up, you watch, the glow becomes brighter, and shapes appear within it. Buildings, towers, walls, a city, an entire city made of light. It shimmers, it wavers, but it is there, and it is beautiful, more beautiful than anything you have ever seen, and you know what it is. You know without being told. It is the lost city, the one the legends talk about, the one that appears to travellers who are lost or dying or simply open enough to see. The city that was swallowed by the sand centuries ago, the city that some say still exists somewhere, hidden, waiting. But it is not real. You know this. It is a mirage, a trick of the atmosphere, a bending of light, your tired mind seeing what it wants to see, and yet, it looks so real, so solid. You can see details, windows, doorways, streets. You can almost hear sounds, music, voices, laughter, the sounds of life, and you understand the danger. You understand why travellers who saw this never came back. Because the city calls to you. It promises rest. It promises safety. It promises an end to the journey. And all you have to do is walk toward it. Just walk. Just follow the glow. Just let yourself believe. But you do not walk. You stand still. You watch. You let yourself see it. Let yourself feel the pull. But you do not give in. Because you know that the city is not there, that if you walk toward it, you would walk forever. The glow would stay the same distance away, always just ahead, always just out of reach, and you would walk until you could not walk anymore, until the desert claimed you. So you turn away. You turn your back on the lost city, and you start walking in the other direction, away from the glow, away from the promise. And it is hard. It is one of the hardest things you have ever done, because every part of you wants to see what is in that city. Every part of you wants to believe. But survival means knowing when to turn away, means knowing when beauty is dangerous, means trusting what you know over what you see. And so you walk, and slowly the glow fades behind you. The city disappears. And the desert is just the desert again, just sand and stars and cold. Your feet are tired now, really tired. You have been walking for hours. The stars have moved across the sky. Some have set, others have risen, and you realize that you have come far, farther than you planned, farther than was safe. But somehow it feels right, feels necessary, like this is a journey you needed to take, a walk you needed to make. You think about the people who made this walk for real, who did not have the option to turn back, who had to keep going because going back meant certain death. They were so brave, or so desperate, or both. They bet their lives on the hope that the route was true, that the next water source was where the guide said it was, that they could make it, and most did, but some did not, and those are the ones who stay. Those are the ones who walk forever, who ring bells in the darkness, who sing songs to travellers who come after. You see another marker. This one is not a post. It is a pile of stones, a cairn. They are stacked carefully, balanced, and on top is a single stone that is different, smoother, rounder, and you know what this is. It is a grave marker. Someone died here. Someone stopped walking and could not start again, and their companions buried them, covered them with stones, marked the place, and moved on. Because the caravan could not stop. The journey had to continue. You stand in front of the cairn. You do not touch it. You do not move the stones. You just stand. And you think about the person under there. Who were they? What was their name? Did they have family waiting? Did anyone ever find out what happened to them? Or did they just disappear into the desert and become another mystery? You feel a deep sadness. Not a loud sadness. Not the kind that makes you cry. But a quiet one. The kind that sits in your chest and makes everything feel heavier. The desert is full of these markers, full of these lost people, and each one is a story that ended too soon, a life that did not get to finish. But there is also something peaceful about it, something right. The person under the stones is part of the desert now. They are part of the sand and the wind and the stars. They are part of the story, and they will not be forgotten. Because as long as the route exists, as long as travellers walk this way, they will see the cairn. They will stop. They will wonder, and in wondering they will remember. They will keep the person alive in the only way that matters. You move on, you leave the cairn behind, but you carry it with you. You carry the weight of it, the knowledge of it, and you understand a little more about why the desert feels the way it does, why it is so full of presence, because it holds everyone who ever came here, everyone who ever walked, everyone who ever tried, and they are all still here, not as ghosts, not as hauntings, but as part of the fabric, part of the texture, part of what makes the Sahara the Sahara. The sky is changing, just slightly. The black is becoming less black. The stars are dimming, just a little. Dawn is coming, not soon, but eventually. And you realize that you have walked through most of the night, that you have done what you came to do. You have walked the cursed caravan route. You have seen the legends. You have felt the desert, and you have survived. Sort of. Because survival is a strange word out here. You are alive, you are walking, you are breathing. But something has changed. Something inside you has shifted. The desert has touched you. It has left its mark. And you will carry that mark forever. You will never be able to look at emptiness the same way. You will never be able to hear wind without listening for bells. You will never be able to see stars without remembering this night. And maybe that is what the title means. Maybe you do not survive because you do not come back the same. You come back different, and the person you were before is gone, lost somewhere in the sand. But maybe that is okay. Maybe that is good. Maybe we are supposed to be changed by the places we go, by the things we see, by the nights we spend walking through legends, and maybe the desert knows this. Maybe that is why it shows itself, why it shares its secrets, why it lets you see the ghost caravan and the lost city and hear the songs, not to frighten you, but to change you, to make you bigger, to make you understand that the world is stranger and older and more full of wonder than you ever thought. You find yourself smiling, just a small smile. Because despite the cold and the fear and the tiredness, you are glad you came. You are glad you walked. You are glad you saw. And you know that you will remember this night for the rest of your life. You will tell people about it, and they might not believe you. They might think you imagined it all, that the desert played tricks on your tired mind, and maybe they are right. Maybe you did imagine some of it. Maybe the line between real and imagined is thinner out here. Maybe the desert does not care about that line. Maybe it erases it on purpose. You see something ahead, something that is not sand, not a dune, but a flat area, and on it are the remains of something bigger, walls, half buried, made of stone and mud brick. This was a structure once, a real building, part of a way station maybe, a place where caravans stopped for more than a night, where they rested and traded and repaired, and now it is just ruins, just pieces, just the memory of safety. You walk to the ruins, you step inside what used to be walls, the floor is sand now, everything is sand, but you can see the shape, you can see where rooms were, where a courtyard was, where people lived and worked and hoped, and you sit down, right in the middle. You lean against a half wall that is still standing, and you let yourself rest. The wind moves through the ruins. It makes sounds, whistles and sighs. And if you listen closely, if you let yourself, you can almost hear words, almost hear conversations. The wind is replaying what it heard, what it witnessed. All the words spoken in this place, all the deals made, all the goodbyes said, and they blur together into a soft murmur, a comfort, a lullaby. You close your eyes, just for a moment. You tell yourself you're just resting, just taking a break. But the truth is you are tired, so tired, the kind of tired that makes your bones ache, the kind that makes you want to sleep for days, and the ruins feel safe, they feel sheltered. The walls might be broken, but they still block the wind, they still hold warmth, and it would be so easy to just stay here, to just sleep, to just let the desert have you. But you open your eyes, you make yourself stand, because you know what happens to people who sleep in the ruins. You know the stories. They fall asleep and they do not wake up, or they wake up years later, or they wake up and they are not quite themselves anymore. The ruins hold on to things, they keep what enters, and you are not ready to be kept. So you leave, you step back out into the open, back into the cold, and you keep walking. Because that is what you have to do. That is the rule of the desert. Keep moving. Do not stop. Do not let it claim you. And maybe that is another meaning of the title. Maybe you would not survive because you would give up. You would let the desert lull you. You would close your eyes and let yourself be held. And that would be the end. But it would not be a bad end. Not really. Because the desert is not cruel. It is indifferent. It does not want to hurt you. It does not care enough to want anything. It just is. And if you stop, if you sleep, if you let go, it simply takes you. It adds you to its collection. It makes you part of the story. And you become another legend, another whisper, another shape on the horizon that travellers see and wonder about. The light is stronger now. The sky is definitely lighter. The stars are fading faster, and you can see more details. The dunes have shadows. The sand has texture. The world is becoming real again, solid. and you feel a strange disappointment, because the night was magic. The night was full of possibilities, but the day is just day. The day is ordinary, and you're not ready for ordinary yet. You climb another dune. This one is tall, taller than the others. It takes effort. Your legs burn, your lungs burn, but you push, you climb, and when you reach the top, you see something that makes you stop, that makes you forget the burning. The sun is rising, not over the horizon, but through the sand. The light is coming up from the dunes themselves, golden and red and orange. The sand is glowing. The whole desert is glowing, and it is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. You sit down, right there on top of the dune. You watch the sunrise, you watch the desert wake up, and you understand something. You understand that the legends are not about fear. They are not about danger. They are about this, about beauty so overwhelming that it feels impossible, about a place so strange that the only way to talk about it is through stories, through ghosts and lost cities and singing voices. Because how else do you describe what you feel when you see the sand glow like fire? How else do you explain the weight in your chest, the sense that you are seeing something sacred, something that should not be seen? You cannot. So you tell stories instead. You say the desert is cursed. You say the caravan routes are haunted. You say travellers disappear. And all of it is true. All of it is a way of saying that the desert changes you, that it shows you things you cannot explain, that it makes you feel small and huge at the same time, that it gives you a glimpse of something beyond yourself, beyond your life, beyond your understanding. The sun is fully up now. The desert is bright, harsh. The magic is gone, or hidden, waiting for night, and you are tired. More tired than you have ever been. But you are also awake. More awake than you have ever been, and you know that you will carry this with you, this night, this walk, this feeling. You will carry it like the travellers carried their goods, carefully, protectively, because it is valuable, because it is rare, because it is proof that the world is more than what you see in daylight, that there are layers, that there are depths, that there are legends that are true in ways that have nothing to do with facts. You start walking back toward where you started, back toward the edge of the desert, and with each step the ordinary world gets closer, the world of roads and buildings and noise, the world where people do not believe in ghost caravans, where mirages are just mirages, where the desert is just empty space, and you feel a sadness. Because you know that when you get back, when you tell people what you saw, they will smile, they will nod, they will think you were tired, that you imagined it, that the desert played tricks, and they will not be wrong. But they will not be right either, and there is no way to make them understand. So you decide not to try. You decide to keep it to yourself. This night, these legends, these moments, they are yours now. The desert gave them to you. And you do not have to share. You do not have to prove. You just have to remember. You just have to hold on to the feeling, the weight, the wonder, and maybe that is the real reason you would not survive. Not because the desert would kill you, but because it would give you something you could never give back, something you could never share, something that would set you apart. And you would spend the rest of your life trying to find that feeling again, trying to recapture the magic, trying to see the glow, and you would never quite succeed, because the desert only gives once, only opens once, and then it closes, and you are left with the memory, with the story, with the legend. The edge of the desert is visible now, in the distance, the place where the sand stops and the world begins, and you feel both relief and regret. Relief that you made it, that you survived. Regret that it is over, that the night is done, that you have to go back, but you keep walking, because that is what travellers do. They go, they return, they carry stories, they become legends themselves, and maybe someone will walk this route after you. Maybe they will see the markers, the cairns, the ruins. Maybe they will feel what you felt, see what you saw, and maybe they will understand. Or maybe they will just think it is a strange empty place, a place with too much sand and not enough life, and that will be okay too. Because the desert does not need to be understood. It does not need to be explained. It just needs to be, and it will be. Long after you're gone, long after everyone is gone, it will still be here, still holding its secrets, still whispering its legends, still glowing in the sunrise. You reach the edge. You step off the sand onto hard ground, onto rock, and you turn around. You look back at the desert, at the dunes, at the vastness, and you whisper a thank you, not out loud, just in your mind. A thank you for the night, for the walk, for the chance to see, and you feel, just for a second, like the desert hears you, like it nods, like it acknowledges. And then the feeling is gone, and the desert is just the desert again, silent, still, eternal. You walk away, you do not look back again, because if you do, you might not leave. You might turn around and walk back in, and this time you might not come out. So you keep your eyes forward. You think about home, about sleep, about the comfort of familiar things, and slowly, step by step, the desert releases you. Slowly, you become yourself again. Or a new version of yourself. A version that knows, that has seen, that carries the weight of legends. And as you walk, you think about the title one more time. Why you would not survive a night in the Sahara's cursed caravan routes. And you realize the answer is simple. You would not survive because the desert does not want you to survive as you are. It wants you to change. It wants you to grow. It wants you to become something more, something deeper, something that understands that survival is not about staying alive. It is about staying open, about staying aware, about letting the world change you. And if you cannot do that, if you hold on too tight to who you were, then yes, you would not survive. Because the desert would break you, not with violence, not with cruelty, but with beauty, with vastness, with the unbearable weight of wonder. But if you let go, if you open yourself, if you walk into the night with nothing but trust and curiosity and a willingness to be changed, then you do survive. You come out the other side, different, marked, carrying legends, and you spend the rest of your life grateful. Grateful that you walked, grateful that you saw, grateful that the desert chose to show you its secrets. Even if just for one night, even if just for a moment, even if you can never fully explain it, even if you can never go back. The sun is high now, the heat is building, the cold of night is gone, and you are far from the desert, far from the dunes, but not really, because the desert is with you now, in you, part of you, and it will stay there, forever. A quiet presence, a soft whisper, a reminder that the world is bigger than you thought, stranger than you imagined, fuller of magic than you ever dreamed. And that is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything. You take a breath, you let it out slowly, and you keep walking. Because that is what travelers do. They keep walking, they keep moving, they keep carrying their stories, and the desert keeps calling, keeps whispering, keeps waiting for the next person brave enough or foolish enough to walk its cursed caravan routes. And when they do, it will show them what it showed you. It will change them. It will mark them. It will make them understand, and they will come back different, just like you, just like everyone who walks those ancient paths, and they will try to explain, they will try to share, but the words will not be enough. The words are never enough. So they will tell legends instead. They will talk about ghosts and lost cities and voices on the wind, and people will listen, and some will believe, and some will not, and the desert will not care. Because the desert knows the truth. The desert knows that legends are just another way of saying that something happened that cannot be put into simple words, that something was felt that cannot be measured, that something was seen that cannot be photographed. And so the legends continue. They pass from traveller to traveller, from generation to generation. They grow, they change, they become more elaborate, but at their core they remain the same. They are all saying the same thing. They are all trying to capture the same feeling, the feeling of walking through the Sahara at night, of seeing the impossible, of being changed, of surviving in a way that has nothing to do with staying alive and everything to do with becoming more fully yourself, more fully aware, more fully present in a world that is so much stranger and more beautiful than we usually allow ourselves to see. The desert knows this. The desert has always known this, and it waits, patient, eternal, for the next traveller, the next story, the next legend. Because the desert is made of legends. It is built from them. Every grain of sand is a story. Every dune is a memory, every wind is a whisper, and walking through it is like walking through time, through history, through every life that ever passed this way. And if you are quiet enough, if you are open enough, you can hear them all, you can feel them all, you can become part of them all, and that is why you would not survive, not because you would die, but because you would change. You would become something other than what you were, and the person you were before would be gone, lost somewhere in the sand, replaced by someone who knows, who has seen, who carries the weight of the desert in their heart. And maybe that is okay. Maybe that is good. Maybe we are meant to be changed. Maybe we are meant to walk into strange places and let them mark us. Maybe we are meant to carry legends, to become legends, to add our stories to the great collection that the desert holds. You think about this as you walk, and you realize that you're not afraid anymore. You're not uncertain. You're just grateful, so deeply grateful, for the night, for the walk, for the desert, for the chance to see what most people never see, to feel what most people never feel, to understand in some small way the vastness of the world, the strangeness of it, the beauty of it. And you carry that gratitude with you. You hold it close. You let it warm you. Because the desert might be behind you now, but it is also ahead of you. It is always ahead of you. In every moment, in every breath, in every time you look up at the stars and remember. Every time you hear the wind and listen for bells, every time you close your eyes and see the sand glowing in the sunrise. The desert is everywhere now. It is part of everything, and you are part of it. And that connection will never break, it will never fade, because the desert holds on to what it touches, and it has touched you, deeply, permanently, forever. And so you walk, and the day is bright, and the world is ordinary, but you are not. You are marked. You are changed. You are carrying legends, and you will carry them until the end, until you become one yourself. Another story, another whisper, another shape on the horizon that travelers see and wonder about. And maybe that is the greatest gift the desert gives. Not survival, not safety, but meaning, purpose, a sense that your journey matters, that your steps are part of something larger, that your story is worth telling, even if no one believes it, even if no one understands, even if you can never fully explain. The desert knows, and that is enough. That is everything. That is why the legends continue, why they never end, why they will still be told long after you're gone, long after everyone alive now is gone, because the desert will still be there, still waiting, still whispering, still calling to travelers brave enough to walk its cursed caravan routes, and they will come, one by one, generation after generation, and they will be changed, just like you, just like everyone before you, just like everyone after. And the legends will grow. They will become richer, more complex, more beautiful, because each traveller adds their own layer, their own understanding, their own piece of the truth. And slowly, over centuries, the legends become something more than stories. They become maps, not maps of the physical desert, but maps of the inner desert, the one we all carry, the vast, empty, beautiful space inside us that we are afraid to explore, the space that the desert reflects, that it shows us, that it makes us confront. And when you walk the cursed caravan routes, you're not really walking through sand. You're walking through yourself, through your fears, your hopes, your capacity for wonder. And the things you see, the ghosts and cities and voices, they are not outside you. They are inside you. They are parts of yourself that you never knew existed, parts that the desert calls forth, that it illuminates, that it makes real. And that is terrifying and beautiful and necessary. Because we are all deserts inside, we are all vast and empty and full of secrets, and we need to walk through ourselves sometimes. We need to face what we find there. We need to let ourselves be changed by our own depths, by our own mysteries, by our own capacity for both darkness and light. The desert knows this. It has always known this, and that is why it is cursed, not because it harms, but because it reveals. And revelation is always dangerous. It always changes things. It always demands a price. And the price is the person you were, the comfort of not knowing, the safety of staying small. All of that must be given up, must be left behind in the sand. so that you can become something more, something truer, something that can hold the weight of what you have seen. And most people are not willing to pay that price. Most people turn back before the night falls, before the ghosts appear, before the city glows. They stay on the edge. They look at the desert from a distance, and they think they understand. They think they know, but they do not, because the desert must be entered, must be walked, must be experienced. There is no other way. And so the legends continue, and the desert waits, and travellers come and go, and some are changed, and some are not. And the cursed caravan routes remain, invisible and ancient and full of everything that ever was, and they will remain, forever, because the desert is forever. It does not age, it does not die, it just is, and it will be, long after cities fall, long after civilizations end, long after the last human takes their last breath. The desert will still be there, still holding its secrets, still whispering its legends, still waiting for someone to listen. You feel all of this, you understand all of this, and it is too much. It is too big, but you hold it anyway, you carry it anyway, because that is what the desert has taught you, that you are bigger than you think, that you can hold more than you believe, that you are capable of carrying the weight of wonder, of mystery, of the impossible, and you do not have to understand it. You just have to hold it, just have to let it be part of you, just have to trust that it means something, even if you never know what. The walking is easier now. Your body has found its rhythm, your feet know what to do, and your mind is quiet, peaceful, the kind of peace that comes after great effort, after facing something difficult, after surviving something that changes you. And you realize that this peace is the real gift, not the visions, not the legends, but this quiet, this calm, this sense that you have done something important, something that matters, something that will echo in your life for years to come. You will think about this night often. You will remember it in pieces, a flash of starlight, the sound of bells, the glow of the lost city, and each time you remember you will feel something, a tightness in your chest, a warmth in your heart, a longing for something you cannot name, and you will wonder if you should go back, if you should walk the route again, if you should try to recapture what you felt, but you will not go back, because you know deep down that you cannot. The desert gave you one night, one chance, one glimpse, and that is enough. That has to be enough. Because the desert does not repeat itself. It shows each traveller something different, something unique, something meant only for them. And if you went back, you would see different things, or maybe nothing at all. The magic does not perform on command. It appears when it wants, when the conditions are right, when the traveller is ready. And you were ready, last night, in that moment, in that exact configuration of stars and sand and silence. You were ready to see, ready to be changed, and the desert knew it. The desert chose you, and that is a rare thing, a precious thing, a thing to be honoured, not repeated, not tested, just held, just remembered, just carried. So you walk away, you return to your life, you do the things you do, you talk to people, you work, you sleep, you wake, and on the surface everything is the same, but underneath, you are different, you are marked, you carry the desert, and it carries you, and that connection will never break, will never fade, will never be lost, and sometimes, late at night, when you are alone and quiet, you will hear it, the whisper, the wind, the soft jingle of bells, and you will know that the desert is calling, that it remembers you, that you are part of its story now, part of its legends, and you will smile, and you will feel that warmth in your heart, and you will be grateful, so grateful. The sun is warm on your face now, the morning is full, and you are far from the dunes, far from the roots, but not really, because the desert is with you, always with you, in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every moment of wonder, and it will be with you until the end, until you become one with the sand, one with the wind, one with the stars, and then you will be part of the legend yourself, another voice on the wind, another shape on the horizon, another story for future travellers to wonder about, and the cycle will continue. The desert will wait, The roots will remain, the legends will grow, and travellers will come, one by one, brave and foolish and open, and they will walk, and they will see, and they will be changed, and they will carry the weight of wonder for the rest of their lives, just like you, just like everyone before, just like everyone after. This is the way of the desert. This is the way of legends. This is the way of survival that is not about staying alive, but about becoming more alive, more aware, more connected to the vast, strange, beautiful world that we live in but rarely see. And you have seen it. You have walked it. You have survived it, and you are forever changed, forever marked, forever grateful, and that is enough. That is everything. That is why you would not survive a night in the Sahara's cursed caravan routes. Not because you would die, but because you would be reborn, and the person you were would be gone, left behind in the sand, replaced by someone who knows, who has seen, who carries legends in their heart, and that is both the curse and the blessing of the desert. It takes everything you are, and gives you back something more, something truer, something that can hold the weight of stars. You breathe in, you breathe out, and you keep walking. Because that is what travellers do. They walk, they carry, they remember, and they become part of the story, part of the legend, part of the eternal cycle of desert and stars and silence. And the story continues, always, forever, in the sand, in the wind, in the hearts of those who dare to walk where legends live, where the past is present, where the impossible is real, where survival means letting go of who you were and becoming who you are meant to be, a traveller, a legend, a whisper on the wind, and the desert holds you, as it has held everyone, as it will hold everyone forever, and you are grateful, so deeply grateful, for the night, for the walk, for the change, for the curse, for the blessing, for the legends, for the desert, for everything, and you carry it all, every step, every breath, every moment, until the end, until you return to the sand, until you become part of the story yourself, and then the cycle begins again. Another traveller, another night, another legend born from walking and wonder and the willingness to be changed by a place that is too big to understand but perfect to feel. And the desert waits, patient, eternal, knowing that the legends will continue, that the stories will grow, that travellers will always come, seeking something, finding something else, and being forever changed. This is the way, this is the truth, this is the legend, this is why you would not survive, and why that is exactly as it should be. The sun climbs higher, the heat presses down, and you walk into the ordinary world, but you carry the extraordinary with you, tucked into your chest, woven into your bones, written on your heart, and no one can see it, but you know it is there, and that is enough, more than enough, everything, and somewhere behind you, the desert shifts, a grain of sand falls. A dune changes shape, the wind whispers, and a new legend is born. The legend of a traveller who walked the cursed caravan routes and survived by dying, who saw the impossible and lived by changing, who carried the weight of the desert and found that they were strong enough, brave enough, open enough, and the legend joins all the others, all the stories, all the whispers, all the voices that the wind carries across the sand, and it becomes part of the fabric, part of the eternal tapestry that the desert weaves from everyone who passes through, everyone who dares, everyone who sees, and the tapestry grows, richer, more complex, more beautiful, because each thread adds something, each story brings colour, each legend brings depth, and together they create something that no single story could create alone. They create meaning. They create connection. They create a map of the human experience, of fear and courage, of wonder and change, of survival that is not about living but about transforming, and you are part of that now. Your thread is woven in, your story is told, your legend is born, and it will remain long after you forget the details, long after the memories fade, long after you cannot quite remember what you saw or felt or heard. The legend will remain, part of the desert, part of the tapestry, part of the eternal story that the Sahara tells to anyone willing to listen. And that is the final truth, the final answer to why you would not survive. Because survival implies staying the same, implies coming out unchanged, and that is impossible in the desert. The desert does not allow sameness. does not permit stagnation, does not let you pass through untouched. It demands change, requires transformation, insists on growth. And if you are not willing to give that, if you hold too tight to who you are, then yes, you will not survive. Because the desert will break you, will shatter you, will scatter the pieces across the sand until there is nothing left. But if you let go, if you open, if you trust the process, then you do survive. You come out whole, but different, new, transformed, and you carry the desert with you, and it carries you, and you become part of something larger than yourself, something older, something eternal, and that is worth everything, worth the fear, worth the cold, worth the uncertainty, worth the cost of who you were, because what you become is so much more, so much richer, so much truer. And you spend the rest of your life grateful that you walked, that you saw, that you changed, that you survived by dying, that you lived by transforming, that you became legend by daring to walk where legends live. The desert knows this, has always known this, will always know this, and it waits. For you, for me, for everyone, with infinite patience, with endless stories, with a tapestry that is never finished, never complete, always growing, always welcoming new threads, new colours, new legends. And so the invitation stands, open, always open, to walk the cursed caravan routes, to face the night, to see the impossible, to be changed, to survive by not surviving, to become legend by living legend. And the only question is whether you will accept, whether you will dare, whether you will step off the edge of the ordinary world and into the extraordinary one that waits just beyond the dunes. The desert is calling. It is always calling. And the legends are waiting, waiting to be lived, waiting to be told, waiting to be added to the eternal story that is the Sahara, the story that has no beginning, no end, just endless middle, just constant becoming, just eternal transformation. And you are part of that now, forever part of that. And the desert is part of you, forever part of you, and nothing will ever be the same. And that is exactly how it should be, exactly how it was meant to be, exactly the reason you walked into the night and let yourself see, let yourself feel, let yourself change, and now you carry it all, the weight, the wonder, the wisdom, the way. And you walk through your ordinary life with an extraordinary secret, a secret that glows, that whispers, that calls, a secret that makes everything more beautiful, more meaningful, more alive, because you know something now. You know that the world is bigger than it seems, stranger than it appears, fuller of magic than anyone admits, and that knowledge is yours, forever yours, given by the desert, held in your heart, carried in your soul, and it will sustain you, it will guide you, it will remind you in your darkest moments that wonder is real, that magic exists, that legends are true, that transformation is possible, that survival is not about staying the same but about having the courage to change, and that is the final gift of the cursed caravan routes. Not fear, not danger, not death, but life, more life, deeper life, truer life. Life that is aware of its own vastness, its own mystery, its own capacity for wonder, and that life is worth living, is worth walking, is worth every cold night and every uncertain step and every moment of doubt and fear. Because on the other side is this peace, this knowing, this connection, this sense that you are part of something infinite, something eternal, something that matters in ways that cannot be measured but can be felt. Deep in your chest, deep in your bones, deep in the place where legends live, and you will carry that forever, and it will carry you, and together you and the desert and the legends will walk through time, through space, through the vast, unknowable mystery that is existence, and you will not be alone, because the desert is with you, the legends are with you. All the travellers who came before are with you, and all the travellers who will come after are already with you. Because time is different in the desert, because past and present and future all exist at once. Because when you walk the cursed caravan routes, you walk with everyone who ever walked them, and everyone who ever will. And that makes you part of something so much larger than yourself, so much older, so much more meaningful, and that is the greatest gift of all. Not the visions, not the ghosts, not the lost cities, but this sense of belonging, this sense of connection, this sense that your story matters because it is part of the great story. The story that the desert tells, the story that never ends, the story that is always being written by every traveller, every night, every step. And your chapter is written now. Your words are added, your legend is part of the book, and it will remain there forever. A permanent part of the desert's memory, a permanent part of its whisper, a permanent part of its call to future travellers who stand at the edge and wonder if they should step into the sand. And your legend will help them decide, will give them courage, will show them that yes, you will be changed. Yes, you will not survive as you are, but yes, it is worth it. Yes, you should go. Yes, the desert is waiting. Yes, the legends are real, and so the cycle continues, and the desert waits, and the legends grow, and travellers walk, and the night falls, and the stars come out, and the wind whispers, and the bells ring, and the impossible becomes real, and the magic never ends. Never. Ever. Because the desert is eternal, and legends are forever. And you are part of both now, forever, and that is beautiful, and that is terrifying, and that is exactly right, exactly as it should be, exactly why you walked, exactly why you saw, exactly why you changed, exactly why you did not survive, and exactly why that is the greatest gift the desert could give, the gift of becoming, of transforming, of dying to who you were and being born into who you are, who you always were, but could not see, until you walked, until you faced the night, until you let the desert show you, and now you know, and now you carry, and now you are legend, forever, always, in the sand, in the wind, in the hearts of those who dare. And the desert holds you, as it holds everyone, as it always has, as it always will, forever. This is the way, this is the truth, this is the legend, this is why you would not survive. And why that is perfect, beautiful, right, the way it was always meant to be. You look at the horizon one more time, the place where sand meets sky, the line that is not really a line at all, just a suggestion, just a blur. The desert has taught you that nothing has clear edges out here. Everything bleeds into everything else, day into night, real into imagined, past into present, and you into something larger. The air is warm again. The morning heat is building. Soon it will be too hot to think clearly, too hot to walk without suffering. The desert gives you windows, small moments when crossing is possible, and then it closes those windows. It says not now, not yet. Come back when you're ready, when the conditions are right, when the stars align. You understand this now. You understand that the desert is not always open, not always welcoming. There are times when it must be left alone, times when it needs to be itself without witnesses, without travellers, without anyone to see, and that is okay. That is right. Because even vast empty places need privacy, need solitude, need time to rest. The caravans knew this. They track the seasons, they watch the signs, they knew when to go and when to wait, and those who did not know, those who tried to force the crossing at the wrong time, they did not make it. The desert took them, not out of malice, not out of anger, but simply because they came when they should not have. They knocked on a door that was closed, and the desert does not open closed doors. You think about all the closed doors in your life, all the times you pushed when you should have waited, all the times you forced when you should have flowed. And you realize that the desert is teaching you about timing, about patience, about understanding that not everything is available all the time, that some things must be earned through waiting, through watching, through being ready when the moment comes. And last night was your moment, your window, your chance, and you took it. You walked through, you saw, and now the window is closing. The desert is shifting back to its private self, the self that does not share, the self that keeps its secrets, and you are grateful you caught it when it was open, when it was willing, when it chose to show you what it holds. You pass another marker. This one is different from the others. It is a piece of metal, rusted, bent, part of something that was once whole, part of a tool maybe, or a weapon, or a container. It is impossible to tell. The desert has stripped away everything but the basic shape, everything but the idea of the thing, and you think about how the desert does this, how it reduces everything to essence, how it takes away all the extra until only the core remains, and maybe that is what happened to you last night. Maybe the desert stripped you down, took away all the extra layers, all the pretense, all the stories you tell yourself about who you are, and left only the core, only the true part, only the piece that matters, and that is why you feel so raw now, so exposed, so vulnerable, because you are seeing yourself without the usual protections, without the usual masks. But vulnerability is not weakness. The desert has taught you that too. Vulnerability is openness, is willingness, is the courage to stand without armor in a place that could destroy you. And you did that. You stood, you opened, you let the desert see you, really see you, and in return, it let you see it, really see it. And that exchange is the heart of the legend, that mutual seeing, that shared vulnerability, that moment when two vast things acknowledge each other. You are tired now, not just physically tired, but tired in your soul. The kind of tired that comes from experiencing too much, from feeling too deeply, from holding too much wonder. And you know you need to rest, really rest, not the surface rest of sleep, but the deep rest of integration, of letting your mind and body process what happened, of giving yourself time to understand. But that rest will come later. For now, you walk. You put one foot in front of the other. You move forward. Because that is what you do. That is what travelers do. They keep moving even when they are tired, even when they want to stop. Because stopping in the wrong place is dangerous, and you are not yet in the right place to stop. The ground is changing under your feet. Less sand, more rock. You are leaving the pure desert behind, moving into the transition zone, the place where the Sahara gives way to something else, to scrubland, to hard earth, to the beginning of places where things can grow again. And you feel the shift, feel the desert releasing you, letting you go, pushing you gently toward the world you came from. And there is sadness in that, real sadness, because you do not want to leave. Part of you wants to turn around, to walk back in, to stay in the place where legends are real and the impossible happens and the stars come so close you can feel their light on your skin. But you know you cannot. You know that the desert has given you what it can give, and to ask for more would be greedy, would be wrong, would break the delicate balance between visitor and visited. So you accept the sadness, you let it sit in your chest, you carry it along with everything else, the wonder, the fear, the gratitude, the confusion, the certainty, all of it mixed together, all of it part of the same experience, because life is not simple. The desert has taught you that. Life is complex and contradictory and full of things that do not make sense, and that is okay. That is how it should be. You see a road ahead, a real road, paved, marked, with lines and signs and all the things that humans add to tell themselves where they are and where they are going. And the sight of it is jarring. After a night of trackless sand, of invisible routes, of paths that exist only in memory and story, the road seems too solid, too permanent, too sure of itself, but you step onto it anyway, because that is the way back, that is the return, and you have to return, you have to take what you learned and bring it back to the ordinary world. That is part of the journey too, the bringing back, the integration, the living with what you have seen. The road is empty, no cars, no people, just you. And you are glad for that. You're not ready for other people yet. Not ready for questions or explanations or the look in their eyes that says they do not believe you, that they think you are exaggerating, that they think the desert was just sand and heat and nothing more. Let them think that. Let them have their version. You have yours, and yours is true. True in a way that has nothing to do with facts or proof or evidence. True in the way that matters, in the way that changes things, in the way that lasts. You walk on the road. Your feet make different sounds now, not the soft shush of sand, but the hard tap of shoe on pavement, and the sound is lonely, echoing. A reminder that you are back in the solid world, the world of surfaces and edges and things that do not blur. But the desert is still with you. You can feel it, in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the way you see the sky. It has marked you, changed you, made you part of its story, and you are part of it now, forever. You will carry that connection always. No matter how far you walk from the sand, no matter how many years pass, the desert lives in you now. It breathes when you breathe. It whispers when you listen. It waits when you forget, and it reminds you when you need reminding. The road stretches ahead, straight and certain, so different from the wandering paths of the caravan routes, so different from the way the old travellers moved. They curved and bent, they followed the land, they respected the shape of things. But this road cuts through. It ignores. It says, I am here, and everything must move around me. And you understand why the legends do not live on roads like this, why the ghosts do not walk here, why the magic stays away. Because roads like this do not leave room for mystery. They answer every question before it is asked. They light every shadow before it can deepen. They explain everything before it can become wonder. And maybe that is why people build roads like this. Maybe they are afraid of the questions, afraid of the shadows, afraid of the wonder. Maybe they want to know exactly where they are going, exactly how long it will take, exactly what they will find when they get there. And maybe that is okay for them. Maybe that is what they need. But you need something else now. You need the questions. You need the shadows. You need the wonder. The desert has shown you that, has opened your eyes to the beauty of not knowing, to the richness of uncertainty, to the depth that exists only in spaces that have not been mapped and measured and explained. You hear a sound, distant, mechanical, a vehicle, coming this way, and you feel a spike of something, not quite fear, not quite anxiety, but a resistance, a pulling back. You're not ready for other people yet, not ready for their questions, their assumptions. Their certainty that they know what the desert is and what you experienced, but the sound grows closer, and you have no choice. You cannot hide on an empty road, cannot disappear into landscape that has no hiding places, so you stand, you wait, you prepare yourself for the intrusion of the ordinary world. The vehicle appears, a truck, old and dusty, weathered by sun and sand, and you feel a small relief. Because this is not a tourist vehicle, not something clean and new and full of people who came to look but not to see. This is a working vehicle, a desert vehicle, one that belongs here. The truck slows, stops beside you, the window rolls down, and an old face looks out, weathered, lined, eyes that have seen too much sun, too much sand, too much time, and there is something in those eyes, a recognition, a knowing. This person has walked the routes, has seen the legends, has been changed by the desert. They do not ask where you came from, do not ask what you're doing out here. They just look at you and nod. A small nod. That says, I know, I understand. I have been where you have been. And then they gesture to the passenger seat, an offer, a ride, a way back to the world. You hesitate. Part of you wants to keep walking, wants to extend this transition, this space between the desert and everything else. But another part of you is so tired, so ready to rest, and there is something in the old face that you trust, something that says this person will not ask questions, will not demand explanations, will simply drive and let you be. So you open the door, you climb in, you sit, and the truck starts moving again, rolling down the straight road, taking you away from the dunes, away from the routes, away from the night you will never forget. The cab of the truck is silent. The old driver does not speak, does not turn on a radio, does not try to fill the space with noise, and you are grateful for that, grateful for the quiet, for the understanding that some experiences need silence after them, need space to settle, need time to become part of you. You look out the window, watch the landscape change, the pure desert giving way to scattered rocks, then to scrub brush, then to the occasional tree, life returning, slowly, in small increments, the way it always does at the edges of vast empty places, testing, reaching, claiming ground inch by inch, and you think about your own return, how you will gradually come back to your regular life, how you will slowly rejoin the world of schedules and expectations and all the small things that seemed so important before but feel less important now. And you wonder if you will be able to hold on to what you learned, if you will be able to keep the desert alive inside you, or if it will fade, if the ordinary will gradually erase the extraordinary until it becomes just a memory, just a story you tell, just something that happened once. But then you look at the driver, at the weathered face, at the eyes that still hold the desert even though this person must have left it long ago. And you understand that it does not fade. Not really. It changes. It settles. It becomes part of your foundation instead of part of your surface. But it does not disappear. Cannot disappear. Because the desert does not let go of what it touches. And you are touched now, marked, changed, forever. The truck rolls through a small settlement. Just a few buildings, a gas station, a shop, signs of human habitation, but sparse, respectful of the vastness around it, not trying to dominate, just trying to exist, to provide the small necessities that travellers need. The driver pulls into the gas station, stops, looks at you, and speaks for the first time. The voice is rough, dry, like sand, like wind, but gentle, kind. This is where I stop, they say. Where you go from here is your choice. You nod. You understand. This is the final edge, the final transition. From here, you can go back to your life, can return to everything you left behind, or you can stay near the desert, can remain in this in-between place, can keep one foot in each world. The choice is yours. The desert has given you what it can give. Now you must decide what to do with it. You open the door, step out, turn back. Thank you, you say, and the driver nods, smiles, a small smile that says you are welcome, that says I understand, that says may the desert stay with you. And then the truck pulls away, drives off, disappears down another road, leaving you standing in the dust. You look around. The settlement is quiet, a few people moving slowly, going about their business. They do not look at you, do not notice you. You're just another traveller passing through, just another person the desert has touched and released, and there is comfort in that anonymity, in not having to explain, in being able to hold your experience privately. You walk to the small shop, step inside. The air is cooler here, artificial, air conditioning. And the sudden change makes you aware of how hot you are, how much the sun has baked into you. You move to a cooler, pull out water, cold water, and the feel of the bottle in your hand is shocking. So cold, so different from the warm water you imagine drinking from leather bags, from the careful rationing the caravans had to do. You pay for the water. The person behind the counter says nothing, just takes your money, gives you change, goes back to whatever they were doing before you came in, and you are grateful for their disinterest, for their lack of curiosity, for the way they treat you like anyone else. You step back outside, open the water, drink, and it is the best thing you've ever tasted. Cold and clean and abundant. You drink half the bottle in one long swallow, and then you stop. Force yourself to slow down, to savour. To be grateful for something as simple and necessary as water. You sit on a low wall outside the shop. You rest. You feel the sun on your face, different now than it was in the desert, filtered by the slight haze of civilization, by the dust kicked up by vehicles, by the small particles of human activity, not as pure, not as clear, but still warm, still real, still the same sun that has watched over the desert for millions of years. You close your eyes, and immediately you see the dunes, the stars, the ghost caravan passing in the darkness, the lost city glowing on the horizon, all of it still so vivid, so present, like it just happened, like it is still happening, like it will always be happening somewhere in the part of you that the desert claimed. You open your eyes, the settlement is still there, still ordinary, still small and dusty and unremarkable, and the contrast is almost funny, almost absurd. How can both exist? How can you hold both the magic and the mundane? How can you be the person who saw impossible things and the person sitting on a wall drinking bottled water? But you can. You do. Because that is what being human means. Holding contradictions, living in multiple worlds at once, being both small and vast, both ordinary and extraordinary, both changed and unchanged. And the desert has taught you how to do that, how to be both, how to let the contradictions exist without needing to resolve them. A cat walks by, thin and wary. Desert cats are different from city cats. They are harder, more independent, more aware of danger. This one glances at you, assesses, decides you're not a threat, and continues on its way, looking for shade, looking for food, looking for whatever it is that cats look for, and you think about how the cat lives between worlds too, between wild and domesticated, between the desert and the settlement, between survival and comfort, moving back and forth as needed, taking what it needs from each. And maybe that is what you will do. Maybe you will learn to move between your worlds, to take what you need from each, to be fluid, to be adaptable, to be like water and cats and wind. You finish the water, stand up. You need to find a way to get farther from here, to get back to where you started, to return to your regular life. You could call someone, could arrange a ride, could activate all the technology that connects you to the wider world, but you are not ready for that yet. Not ready for phones and screens and the flood of messages that have probably accumulated while you were gone. So you walk, you choose a direction, you follow the road, and you trust that something will work out. That is another thing the desert has taught you. Trust, not blind trust, not foolish trust, but the trust that comes from knowing that you can handle what comes, that you have survived the night, that you have seen the impossible and lived, that you are stronger than you thought, braver than you knew, more capable than you believed. The road curves, follows the land a little more here, respects the larger rises and falls, and you see, in the distance, a larger town, or maybe a small city, buildings rising, more vehicles, more people, more of everything that makes up the regular world, and your step slows. Because you're not sure you are ready, not sure you can handle the density, the noise, the speed, but you keep walking because there is no other choice. You cannot stay between forever. You cannot live on roads and in settlements that exist only to serve those passing through. At some point you have to rejoin, have to re-enter, have to become part of the flow again. A vehicle approaches from behind, slows, stops. A younger person leans out. "Need a ride?" they ask, and their voice is cheerful, open, unaware of anything except the simple fact that you're walking and they are driving, and maybe they can help. You hesitate, then nod. "Yes," you say. "Thank you." And you climb in. And this vehicle is different from the old truck, newer, cleaner, with music playing softly, with screens glowing, with all the markers of the connected world. And it feels jarring, overwhelming, like too much after too little. But the person driving is kind. They ask simple questions. Where are you going? Where did you come from? And you give simple answers, vague answers, enough to be polite but not enough to invite deeper inquiry. And they seem satisfied with that, seem content to drive and hum along with the music and not push. You watch the town get closer, watch the buildings grow, watch the signs multiply, and you feel something tightening in your chest, a resistance, a reluctance. Part of you wants to ask them to stop, to let you out, to let you turn around and walk back toward the desert, but you do not. You sit, you breathe, you remind yourself that this is part of the journey too, that leaving is as important as arriving, that you cannot stay in the magical moment forever. That life requires you to move through all its parts, not just the extraordinary ones. The vehicle enters the town, drives through streets, past shops and restaurants and hotels, past people going about their lives, buying things, eating things, talking to each other, all of it so normal, so everyday, so completely unaware that just a few miles away, the desert holds legends and ghosts and cities made of light. And you realize that this is how the world works. These two realities exist side by side, the magical and the mundane, the extraordinary and the ordinary, and most people only ever see one, only ever experience one. They live their whole lives in the everyday world, and that is fine, that is enough for them. But you have seen both now. You have crossed the line, you have walked in both worlds, and you can never unsee that. Can never go back to only knowing one. The driver drops you at a bus station, wishes you well, drives away, and you stand there, in the middle of the ordinary world, holding everything you experienced, carrying everything you learned, trying to figure out how to be this new version of yourself in a world that does not know you have changed. You go inside the station, buy a ticket. The process is simple, automated, impersonal. You scan, you pay, you receive. And within minutes you have a ticket to somewhere that will connect you to somewhere else that will eventually get you home. To your real home, your before the desert home, your regular life home. You sit in the waiting area. Around you are other travellers. Some look tired, some look excited, some look bored. All of them are in transit, all of them are between places, between moments. Between versions of themselves. And you wonder if any of them have experienced what you have. If any of them carry deserts inside them. If any of them have walked with ghosts and turned away from lost cities and listened to songs sung by voices that do not exist. You will never know. Because these are not things people talk about in bus stations. These are not things that come up in casual conversation. These are private things, sacred things, things that live in the quiet spaces inside you. The bus arrives, you board, find a seat by the window, store your small bag, sit, and the bus pulls away, leaving the town, heading toward the highway, toward speed and distance and the rapid covering of miles. So different from the slow walking of the caravan routes, so different from the patient pace that respects the desert. You watch through the window, watch the landscape blur, watch the desert recede, until it is just a line on the horizon, just a suggestion of vastness far away. And then even that disappears, hidden by hills, by curves in the road, by distance, and you close your eyes, and you let yourself drift, not quite sleeping, not quite waking, existing in that in-between state that travellers know, that place where your body is moving but your mind is still, where the outside world becomes background and the inner world comes forward. And in that state you see the desert again, you walk the routes again, you hear the bells again, you watch the city glow again, and you understand that this will always be available to you, this inner desert, this memory made so vivid it becomes more than memory. It becomes a place you can return to, a space you can inhabit, a world within the world, and that is how you will survive what you have seen. That is how you will hold on to what you have learned. You will build it inside yourself. You will create an inner landscape that mirrors the outer one, and you will walk there when you need to. When the ordinary world becomes too much, when you need to remember that wonder is real, that magic exists, that legends are true, the bus rolls on, hours pass, the landscape changes, more green, more water, more life. You are leaving the desert's reach, entering other climates, other ecosystems, other ways of being. And each mile takes you farther from where you were, but not from what you experienced. That stays constant, that travels with you, that lives in your chest like a second heart. You stop for a break. The bus pulls into a rest area. People get out, stretch, use facilities, buy food and drinks, move through the rituals of road travel, and you join them. You become one of them, just another traveller, just another person going from one place to another. And there is comfort in that anonymity, in being unremarkable, in not having to explain or defend or justify. You buy coffee, hot and bitter and strong, and you stand outside in the parking lot, drinking it, looking at the sky. The sun is moving toward evening, another day almost done, another night approaching, and you wonder what this night will bring. Will you sleep normally? Will the desert let you rest? Or will you dream of dunes and stars and caravans? You will find out soon enough. For now, you just stand and drink and exist, and that is enough. More than enough. Everything. The bus boards again. You return to your seat. The vehicle fills. Some people get off. New people get on. The constant flow of travellers, all going somewhere, all carrying their own stories, their own experiences, their own hidden deserts. You settle in. Prepare for more miles, more movement, more of this transition between where you were and where you are going. And you realise that this is what life is, this constant transition, this endless moving between moments, between places, between versions of yourself. You're never static, never fixed, always in motion, always changing, always becoming, and the desert has shown you how to do that with grace, how to move through changes without resistance, how to let yourself be transformed without fear, how to trust the process even when you cannot see where it leads. The light outside is fading. The sun is setting somewhere beyond the horizon, and you think about how, at this very moment, the desert is preparing for night. How the dunes are cooling, how the stars are beginning to emerge, how the roots are filling with shadows and possibility, how the legends are stirring, how the ghosts are getting ready to walk again. And somewhere out there, maybe another traveller is standing at the edge, looking at the vastness, wondering if they should step into it, wondering what they will find, wondering if they will survive. And you hope they do step in. You hope they walk. You hope they see what you saw, feel what you felt, learn what you learned, because the world needs more people who have walked with legends, who have faced the night, who have been changed by vastness, who carry deserts in their hearts. The bus moves through the darkness, headlights cutting through the night. Inside, people doze, read, stare at screens, live in their own bubbles, their own worlds, and you sit among them, part of them, but also apart, connected but also separate, changed but also the same, and you understand that this is how it will be now, this dual existence, this living in two worlds at once, the outer world of jobs and responsibilities and everyday tasks, and the inner world of legends and wonder and impossible beauty, both real, both true, both necessary. You think about what you will do when you get home, how you will explain where you have been, what you will say about the night, and you decide that you will say very little. You will tell the basic facts. You went to the desert, you walked at night, you came back, and if people want to know more, if they ask deeper questions, you will answer honestly but simply. You will not try to convince them, will not try to make them understand. You will just share what you can share and leave the rest in the silence where it belongs. Because some experiences are not meant to be fully communicated. Some truths are not meant to be spoken. Some magic is not meant to be explained. And the desert has taught you to honour that, to respect the mystery, to let some things remain unknown and unknowable. The night deepens, the bus continues, and you drift again, in and out of consciousness, in and out of memory, in and out of the liminal space between sleep and waking. And in that space, the desert is always there, always present, always calling, always reminding you that you're part of something larger, something older. Something that will continue long after you're gone, and you accept that, you embrace that, you let it fill you with humility and gratitude and a strange kind of joy. Because being part of something eternal is a gift. Being connected to something so vast is an honour. Being changed by something so powerful is a privilege. Hours pass, the bus stops again. More people get off, more people get on. You check your ticket. Still many miles to go, still more time in transit, still more of this between. And that is okay. You are in no hurry. You have learned patience from the desert. You have learned that journeys take as long as they take, that rushing does not help, that the only way through is through. You close your eyes again and let yourself rest, and the dreams come. Soft dreams. Gentle dreams. Dreams of sand and stars and bells ringing in darkness. Dreams of walking and seeing and being. Dreams that are more memory than imagination. Dreams that hold truth in their impossible images. And you sleep. Really sleep. For the first time since before the desert. Deep sleep. The kind that heals. The kind that integrates. The kind that lets your mind and body process everything that happened. Everything you saw. Everything you felt. Everything you became, and when you wake, hours later, you feel different, more settled, more solid, like the experience has moved from surface to depth, like it has taken root, like it is part of you now in a way it was not before, and you know that this is the beginning of living with what you have learned. This is the start of carrying the desert not as a fresh wound, but as a scar, as a mark, as a permanent part of who you are. The bus is almost empty now. Just a few passengers left, the committed travellers, the ones going the distance, and you look out the window and see the first suggestions of dawn, the sky lightening, the darkness thinning, another night ending, another day beginning, and you think about cycles, about how everything repeats, about how the sun rises and sets and rises again, about how the desert moves through its patterns, about how life continues regardless of individual experiences, about how the world keeps turning even when we are transformed. And there is comfort in that. in knowing that you are part of something cyclical, something that has happened before and will happen again. You're not the first person to walk the cursed caravan routes, not the first to see the ghost caravan, not the first to be changed by the Sahara, and you will not be the last. You're just one in a long line of travellers, one thread in the tapestry, one story in the collection. And that is enough. That is perfect. That is exactly what you are meant to be. The bus pulls into a station, a larger one, a hub. From here you can connect to many places, can go in many directions, and you realise that you have a choice to make. You can continue directly home, can rush back to your regular life, can try to minimise the disruption, or you can take your time, can add another leg to the journey, can give yourself more space to transition. You decide to take your time, because the desert has taught you not to rush, to honour transitions, to respect the process of becoming. So you find another ticket, to a place that is not quite home but closer. A place where you can stop for a day or two, where you can rest more fully, where you can begin the final integration before returning to your regular world. You buy the ticket, you wait for the next bus, and you sit in the station, watching people come and go, watching the constant movement of travellers, all with their own destinations, their own purposes, their own stories, and you wonder about those stories, about what experiences people carry, about what hidden deserts exist in other hearts, about how many of these strangers have also been changed by places that should not exist but do, by moments that should not happen but did, by magic that should not be real but is. You will never know. But you like to imagine, like to think that you're not alone in your experience, that others carry similar marks, similar memories, similar connections to things larger than themselves. And maybe that is true. Maybe the world is full of people who have walked where legends live, who have seen the impossible, who have been transformed by wonder, and if that is true, then maybe there is hope. Maybe the world is not as ordinary as it seems. Maybe magic is everywhere, hidden, waiting, ready to reveal itself to those who are brave enough to look, to those who are open enough to see, to those who are willing enough to be changed. Your bus arrives, you board, find another window seat, store your bag, settle in, and this time you do not close your eyes. You watch. You look out at the world passing by. You see the landscape changing, the architecture shifting, the markers of different regions, different cultures, different ways of living, and you see beauty in all of it. Beauty that you might not have seen before the desert, because the desert has opened your eyes, has shown you how to look more deeply, how to find wonder in ordinary things, how to see the extraordinary in the everyday. A child in the seat across from you stares out the window, eyes wide, taking everything in, and you remember what it was like to see the world with fresh eyes, with unfiltered wonder, with pure curiosity, and you realize that the desert has given you back some of that, has stripped away some of the cynicism, some of the jadedness, some of the tendency to dismiss things as ordinary just because you have seen them before. The child catches you looking, smiles, and you smile back. A genuine smile, a smile that comes from the deep place the desert touched, a smile that says, I see you, I recognize your wonder. I remember what it is like to look at the world and see magic, and in that moment of connection, you understand something else. You understand that part of why you walked the caravan routes was to find this ability to connect more deeply, to see other people more clearly, to recognize the shared humanity that exists beneath all the surface differences, because the desert strips away surfaces, reduces everything to essence, and when you are reduced to essence, you can recognize essence in others. The bus continues, the day strengthens, and you feel yourself moving forward, not just physically, but in every way. You're moving through the experience, through the transformation, through the process of becoming the person you are now, the person who has walked with ghosts, the person who has turned away from lost cities, the person who carries the desert inside, and that person is different from who you were. That person sees differently, feels differently, understands differently. That person knows things that cannot be taught, holds truths that cannot be spoken, carries weight that cannot be shared, but that person is also you, is still you, is the same person who stepped into the desert with questions and uncertainty and hope, just changed, just deepened, just expanded, and you're learning to be this new old version of yourself. learning to inhabit this familiar strange body, learning to live with this known unknown mind, the landscape outside becomes more familiar. You're getting closer to places you know, to regions you have been before, to territory that feels like home adjacent if not quite home itself. And with that familiarity comes a new set of feelings: anticipation, nervousness, excitement, dread, all mixed together, all valid, all part of the complex experience of return. You think about the practical things you will need to do, the life you will need to resume, the responsibilities you will need to fulfill, the routines you will need to rejoin, and part of you rebels against that. Part of you wants to stay in this liminal space forever, this between place where the desert is still fresh and the ordinary world is still distant, where you can exist in the transformation without having to test it, without having to see if it will hold. But another part of you is ready to see if you can live differently now, if you can bring what you learned into your regular life, if you can maintain the awareness the desert gave you even when surrounded by the everyday, if you can hold on to the magic even when immersed in the mundane. And you will not know until you try, until you step back in, until you test the new version of yourself against the old context. And that is both frightening and exciting, because you might fail, you might forget, you might lose what you found, but you also might succeed, might remember, might keep what you discovered, and that possibility is worth the risk. The bus makes a final stop, your stop. You gather your things, stand, move down the aisle, step off, and you are in a place you know, a place you have been many times, a place that should feel familiar. But it looks different now. Everything looks different now. Because you are different. Because you see with desert eyes. Because you carry vastness inside you. You stand in the parking lot, your bag at your feet, the sun warm on your head, and you take a moment, just a moment, to feel everything, to acknowledge where you are, to honor the journey, to thank the desert one more time for what it gave you. And then you move. You pick up your bag, you walk toward the street, you begin the final leg, the last piece, the return home, and with each step, the desert stays with you. In your breath, in your bones, in your heart, always there, always present, always reminding you of what you have seen, what you have learned, what you have become. This is why you would not survive a night in the Sahara's cursed caravan routes. Not because the desert would take your life, but because it would take your old self, your old way of being, your old understanding. And it would give you back something new, something that cannot fit into the old shape, something that requires you to expand, to change, to become more than you were. And that is the real curse and the real blessing. To be changed so completely that you can never go back. To be marked so deeply that you can never erase it. To be connected so fully that you can never disconnect. This is what the desert does to those who walk its routes. This is what the legends have always tried to say. This is the truth that hides inside every story about ghost caravans and lost cities and voices on the wind. The curse is transformation. The blessing is transformation. They are the same thing, and you carry both now, forever, always, in the deepest part of yourself where the desert lives, where the legends breathe, where the truth resides. And you walk forward, into your life, into your world, into your future, carrying everything, holding everything, being everything you have become, and the desert watches from inside you, patient, eternal, waiting for the moment when you will need it again, when you will call on what it taught you, when you will remember what you saw in the darkness under the stars on the cursed caravan routes of the Sahara. And you will remember, you will always remember, because some nights last forever, some walks never end, some transformations are permanent, and you have been transformed. You have walked, you have seen, you have survived by not surviving, you have become legend by living legend, and that is enough. That is everything. That is the final truth. That is why the title was true. That is why you would not survive. Because survival was never the point. Change was the point, and you have changed. Forever and always, marked by sand and stars and silence. The desert is done with you, and you are done with the desert. But neither of you will ever truly be separate again. You are bound now, connected, part of each other, and that bond will hold through everything, through time and distance and all the ordinary moments that make up a life. The bond will hold, the desert will remain, the legends will continue, and you will carry them, always, forever, until you become one yourself, until your story joins all the others, until you are the whisper that future travellers hear, until you are the shape on the horizon that makes them wonder. Until you are the legend that proves that magic is real and transformation is possible, and the cursed caravan routes of the Sahara change everyone who walks them. Everyone, including you, especially you, forever you.